For star seeds, it's again very different. We are very, very, very vulnerable. We are very sensitive, very, very highly psychic. Our senses are really high. And I have noticed for many people, and that's when I work with them, it's like they're so sensitive that they don't know what's real anymore and what's not real anymore.
Sober Stage, the podcast where we dive deep into raw and honest conversations about living life substance-free. And now, here's your host, Jaclyn McBride.
Welcome to another episode of the Sober Stage. Today, I'm super excited about our episode. We are talking all about star seeds and the effects of alcohol and addiction on our chakra system, our energy body. I have brought in the amazing Agathe Fohler. Please introduce yourself and we'll get started. Where are you calling in from today?
Thank you so much for having me on the show. Really, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I have lots to tell and lots to talk. So I'm Agathe Fohler. I'm half German, half Sri Lankan. I'm born in Germany, Bavaria. Right now I'm in Mexico and I have traveled the world. Like literally I went one time around. So I'm a healer, I'm a seer, I'm a multidimensional being, of course. I'm a star seed.
Can you share with our listeners what is a starseed and how does it relate to the concepts of living a life substance-free? Like, first of all, what is a starseed?
Okay, first of all, a starseed. I always tell people, whatever I say, don't take it one-on-one. We are all different, right? Like we are all very different. We have different backgrounds, different cultures, different upbringing. We have different food and we're like all very individual. And that makes it like most important for you to always do your own research. And what I do is I help people to like listen to themselves, to trust themselves, to remember who they are. And for star seeds, we are souls from different dimensions, galaxies, planets, star system, incarnating here on Earth into our physical body to help humanity raise their frequency and to shift from 3D, I say it always, to 6D because 5D is my heart frequency. That's what I say. So there are many people out there talking about star seeds, and you just go along with what resonates with you. So star seed is a very high vibrational soul, has a lot of knowledge incarnating on this planet.
So in other words, you would say that a star seed is basically someone who's connecting to like their higher self. Is that sort of what you mean?
Everyone can connect to their higher soul, but a star seed explicit comes from different stars and planets incarnating on Earth.
I see. Okay.
Yeah.
That's a great explanation. So how would alcohol or drugs impact our physical bodies, energy bodies, our chakras from a spiritual perspective?
So since I'm born in Germany and we have the Oktoberfest and people drink and it's our culture to have alcohol, beer and schnapps, and I think the whole world knows about it. But then even in Sri Lanka, it's like daily routine that people drink arak. So yeah, I'm surrounded by people who do use alcohol. I just want to go a bit back in time because when I was little, we never had any taboos. So when my surroundings said, hey, have a sip of alcohol or wine or whatever, there was no restriction. It's like it was not, you cannot have it. So it was always open. It was not a secret.
It was just a normal part of living, right?
Yes. For me, I never liked the taste. It was just, okay, my dad had his beer for lunch and he would drink it. And I had my little beer mug with him and I would drink it like my little mug. I never liked it, but it was a thing I had with my dad, right? So, but then I was reading a book and trust me, I didn't like reading books. There was one specific book. It is actually a German book. It was called The Children from This Planet. And it was about star seeds, but those days we didn't have the name star seed. And they wrote about, and it was so intense. They said, when you drink alcohol and when you can see the aura, you can see that the alcohol opens up the chakras and the aura, even the drugs do. So let's get into the deep things later.
Yeah.
So it opens up the chakras and then the entities, the souls which can't move from here to the other side. They don't know they're dead. They need a body. So they stuck on your aura, or they even possess people, right? When they talk about possession. It's like, have you noticed when people drink a lot, they either get their faces changed, or they get very violent, or they totally change their personality. And it's like, what happened to this person?
Yeah, or like the next day, if they did something wrong, the next day they say, "Oh, that wasn't me. I didn't mean to do that. Normally I'm not like that." And they even are confused themselves, like, "Why did I act like that?"
Exactly. So that is a spirit. I mean, you can call it how you feel more comfortable with it. I'm not talking about the devil or something. It's just a part of life. We have spirits, we have things in this planet. We can't always see it, but it does exist. So
Right.
those spirits, they actually really attach onto your aura. They feed off your life force energy. And that's also when people get like, they look really old or drained and like exhausted. And then, you know, it starts this toxic thing. It's because they feed of the substance of the person.
Right.
So
So it's just kind of finishing telling about your childhood and how you found that book and everything. Is that what led you to choose a substance-free lifestyle? Or how old were you then? And was it that book? Was that like a point that you're like, oh, it had you start thinking? Because I, like you, I had that same upbringing where drinking was so normalized. My parents had parties, we had alcohol all around. It was so normal that I thought that's what you're supposed to do.
So yeah, the book definitely made me start thinking. But even before that, I mean, I'm born psychic, so I could always see spirits. I could always see the energies of people. I could always hear the thoughts of people, which I didn't know. I thought it's normal, but it was not, which I found out like much later. So I did see the energies. I did see certain patterns. I just couldn't figure it out. But when I was reading the book, I was like, okay, just let me be conscious. Let me be aware. Let me see what's going on. And I will never, ever, ever forget that. So in school, I was reading the book with, I think I was 12. And then we went to secondary school and I was around maybe 14, 15. And my friend, my best friend those days, she's a hardcore sports person, but she was allowed to go out to party. She had her freedom, which I didn't have. And she always said, oh, one day I want to take English LSD. We call it ticket. She wants to try a ticket, which you put on the tongue or on your eyes. That's what she told me. Yeah, acid, yeah. So and then she said, oh, I want to try this. And one day I will do it. And I just looked at her and I was like, okay, fine, you do it. One day she came into the class. I looked at her and her whole aura was great. And I was like, okay, something is not right here. I looked at her and I said, what happened to you? And then she's like, what do you see? What do you know? Can you see something? And I was like, yeah, I don't know. Something is different. And she said, yeah, I was trying the ticket today and I feel amazing. And I could see all those colors. And then I was like, okay, I want to see all those colors, but I don't want to see it that way because her aura was gray. It was not colorful anymore. And that really shocked me. I was like, and that I promised myself, I said, whatever I do in my life, I can reach all those things without any drugs and substances because I saw what it did to her. Of course, I have been drunk. Once a year I would drink, but I haven't drank, I think, in 2 or 3 years now. It's just, it doesn't make me feel good. It makes me feel sick. I don't feel good. It makes me feel weak. My tummy gets really upset and I always think, why are people forcing themselves to feel the dizziness or to feel that kick? But you can get it in other ways. So that was a thing I really saw, I learned, and I was like, I'm not going to do this ever in my entire life.
Yeah. Well, I know, like, from my experience, and I'm sure many listeners as well, they can relate, where they'll drink like that and they say, oh, I'm never going to drink like that again. And then they find themselves drinking like that again. Right. So you've been like, for me, from having the struggle with alcohol in my past, listening to you, I'm thinking, wow, you were lucky to kind of have that psychic ability at such a young age that deterred you from drinking to begin with.
So one thing is I always could see spirits, and yes, they scared me, but somehow, maybe because of past lives, I had some strength within me. I don't know where I would be today if I would have taken drugs or drank alcohol. I was in a very toxic environment, and I can totally, I mean, I had an eating disorder for 14 years, so that was my addiction. It went maybe the other way around. But somehow I managed because I realized no one can help me. Even when I went to psychotherapists, they were just, what did you dream today? And I'm like, why do I need to talk about my dreams? Why do I need to talk about my day? It's not helping me in any way. And then I figured out I need to find my own way to heal myself. And one part is, yes, I mean, I really wanted to drink and be a part of society, because especially in places when they do drugs and they drink, and I love dancing. So my connection was, I dance, you take drugs, you drink, and we dance all together. But then there came a part of life where I got so sensitive that I could see more and more the spirits attached to those people, and their faces changing and shifting, and their personality and their hearts closing, that I had to stay away. So if I go dancing now, it will be outdoors, ecstatic dancing, but I still want it to be a normal place, because somehow, I mean, we all want to be a part of society. For starseeds, it's again very different. We are very, very, very vulnerable. We are very sensitive, very, very highly psychic. Our senses are really high. And I have noticed for many people, and that's when I work with them, it's like they're so sensitive that they don't know what's real anymore and what's not real anymore. And this is like the hard part, when you are in between dimensions or realities and you don't know what's real anymore. And then some people say, yeah, it's easier to drink because then I don't have to face that fear and to face that problem. But some other people drink and say, I just don't want to see it at all. I don't want that. And then the other part is they get sucked into toxic relationships, addiction, or dependencies, because they have so much light that the people who are not healthy, who are not supporting you, are trying to drag you down or try to feed off you. I know it sounds really cruel,
No,
but it's always,
I understand
yeah.
what you're saying, and I see it often around me, and I've been in those types of relationships as well. And it's crazy. Do you agree that like when you're sober, you can actually have more awareness and actually see these things? Because when you're drunk, you don't have that awareness, and you either try
Yes.
to numb it, you're trying to numb the fear, numb the pain, and push life away. But when you're sober, you actually have to face and see everything for what it is.
Yes. And for me personally, it was always, I said, the way is where my fear is. So I always face my fear. This is like rule number one. The second thing was always for me that I said, I don't let other people control me. I don't let other people manipulate me. And if I don't know what I'm doing, especially I'm a woman, I'm traveling all over the world. I had to rely on myself. I couldn't rely on anyone. My parents can't hear and speak. My mom is mute. My dad could hear, but like half, and could speak, but not really. So it was always people trying to control and manipulate me. And if I would have let myself go and be drunk or whatever, I wouldn't have known what happens to me. So I needed to make sure that I control my life. I decide where I want to go, what I do. And that was something very important to me.
So at the beginning, you had said that star seeds are like an incarnation of a soul from the stars to carry the frequency here. Is that an example of carrying that and holding that frequency?
I want to sit with humans or people, and then I see those spirits, and I'm like, how do I interact now? How do I be a part of society when I see those energies? And I know this is not right, but at the same time, I want to be there. I want to be a part of this. And one part, like one really most important part, is a starseed has internal high vibrations. It's like we create DMT. I always say your own master. You can be happy without all those things, just being yourself. And that helps others to see, hey, you can lead the path, you can guide the path, and they can follow you if they want to. And sometimes, and that's the most difficult part, is if people don't want to walk with you, sometimes you have to leave people behind you. And that hurts a lot, because you love people, you want everyone to be happy, but sometimes not everyone is ready when you are ready. So you have to know that everyone will walk the path, but in their own time, you know? Some later,
Right.
some never, some in next lives, some when the time is right, but not when you want it. So you have to make sure you're happy. You have to make sure you're on your own power, and you have to make sure that you stand up for yourself. even if it's sometimes lonely.
How would you explain or express how your intuition, your energy levels, or your spiritual connection are without having substances? Like, how does a sober person connect more spiritually versus someone who takes drugs or drinks alcohol?
Yeah. The person who is codependent on people, substances, emotions, or whatever, they are most of the times very clouded, like very cloudy. It's like they can't make a real clear judgment. I mean, they say, for example, when you take cocaine, I don't know if I'm allowed to say that, they say your senses get really sharp. Yes, your senses get really sharp. You know what's going on, you're aware. But at the same time, in a way, you're clouded because all the emotions come up which you have pushed away, which actually make you take those things, be addicted to something in the first place. So you taking the drugs, suppressing those emotions all the time, it's stored somewhere in you. And it's like sometimes, have you noticed when people have addiction, something happens and it triggers them and then they just explode and you get really scared of them? Especially when they take ayahuasca, DMT, San Pedro. I mean, especially in the spiritual scene, they say, "Oh, take it; it will help you. You connect with Mother Earth." But what happens is your body opens up. Your soul goes out of your body. You have a near-death experience. Your body gets into a freezing mode. It's like, I'm going to die. So we have this adrenaline kick where you feel like you see colors, have those most amazing feelings. But now the most important part is after that, bam, you get into depression, you have very low energy, and you don't feel good about yourself or anything. And then you need to take it again to have visions or to get something. If you're sober, you can actually manage to keep the vibration. Of course, we all have up and downs, but you don't depend on a substance. You can control if you go in nature, if you go for a swim, if you do some sport and running, and it gives you a kick to feel better, but you don't need a substance. So you are controlling your life to feel good. But a substance can like really push you or drag you, but you need that substance to have that control. So it's not your control. So that's the difference. And a person who's conscious, not doing anything, they can't be manipulated and controlled easily because there's nothing they want they could give you that you are being controlled or manipulated. So it's freedom. It's actually freedom.
Right. And that is like you're referring to mostly mind altering substances. So substances that have a shift in your mind or your consciousness. It's really tough in this world to be completely
Yes.
substance free when it comes
Yes.
to food or emotions or anything that we're talking about. In the spiritual community, like we were talking about it even last week about microdosing, like microdosing mushrooms, microdosing ayahuasca, and all of these things that in the spiritual communities, they speak about like it's just nothing and it's super grounding and all of these things. But from my experience, I'm thinking, well, that's still altering your consciousness. So what can people do without any substances to enhance their consciousness, their psychic abilities, and all those things?
About the microdosing, yes, I'm, to be honest, always very, very shocked and surprised how, I mean, in a way, it's money making. It is really money making. The other day, I was reading a post. Someone said, "You know, what can I do when I have depression?" So everyone said, "Take a mushroom, do microdosing." And no one said, "Hey, go for a run, go in nature, do sport, drink water, watch what you eat." No one said that, but you have a body. So the solution for everything is like microdosing. I'm sorry, this is not how it works. You need to be in control of your life. You need to be in charge of your life, and you need to do something for your body because we have a body here on this planet. So I was shocked, to be honest.
Can you explain, just talking about star seeds and the soul and everything, what actually happens to somebody's spirit or energy body, even their chakras, like when they do take a substance?
I have seen people when they take ayahuasca, that's actually the most creepiest thing. The eyes turn really black and the soul is like, there is no life. There's no light in the eyes of a person. Always look in the eyes of a person. Always look at the skin of a person. You can even, if you're not psychic, you can still do it. And also what I saw is like when there are entities, the aura gets really dark, like really, really dark. And you can see this dark cloud around the person. Like, for example, when I had my eating disorder, I was healing. And then all of a sudden my body would trick me. I would eat. And when I was planning to throw up, I couldn't because within 5 minutes, I would just fall asleep. So the moment I started healing myself and digging deeper and looking into the trauma issues, whatever I had from my childhood, my body would trick me, but help me in an amazing way. Your body will help you, really, really. And I would fall asleep the next day after 12, 14 hours. I would wake up and then you can't throw up. It's not possible, right? So I had to change my mindset and say, okay, if my body falls asleep, I need to eat healthy. And if I eat healthy, I don't feel crappy about myself the next day, right? About putting on weight, losing weight, or whatever issue I have. And that went to a state that all of a sudden I could normalize an eating habit because my body would tell me if I need a lot or not. People are not listening to their body, what the body tells you what it needs, and to trust yourself. So when that happened is all of a sudden, sometimes when the energy gets really dark, people who are heavily into trauma or addiction, there's a very dense energy. And when that energy is too heavy on me and I can't cleanse it anymore, that's when I notice my addiction comes back. Or I don't want to call it addiction. It's like an eating disorder, but in a way that my body is trying to cleanse because I can't do it by myself. So the question is, why do you have the addiction? What does it stand for? How did it help you? Do you still need it? Right. Don't make it like a devil. Don't curse it or whatever and say, I'm terrible. No, whatever you have in your life, it happens for a reason. But ask yourself, why? What are you compensating? Can you change certain things, even if it's a tiny little step? And yes, when you have a hiccup, it's okay. You have a hiccup, but you're aware of it. You can change it and then you can heal, you know? It's so important.
And listening too, I feel like listening, how does it make me feel? If something makes you feel bad or wrong, then that's a sign that something's off, right? But if you feel really good about an area of your life, then most of the time it feels like you're on the right track if you feel right about it. But if you're feeling wrong and it's turmoil, then it's like, okay, what do I need to look at, right?
Yeah. It's also, so it's really important to look into those tiny little details because they make a big difference. It's really important who's around you. Do they want to have a better life? Are they willing to support you? And I think that's a big part in life, to accept and to understand that we have to sometimes walk a path of our own and then to meet the real family.
Right. Yeah, so I just have a couple more questions. So this kind of ties into what you were just saying, but how can individuals who identify as starseeds, how can they protect their energetic boundaries in environments where substances are being consumed?
You need to know who you are. You need to get to know yourself first. Then you know what are your boundaries. You know how much you can take or not, what you like or dislike. So I know if someone smokes, I get sick. So what I do is I tell my friends, I say, please, if you want to smoke a cigarette, please let me know. Either I walk away or you walk away and you come back and I come back or whatever. So there's, communication. You have to test it. I always say, because we're all different, you need to figure out what's good for you. So you try it out.
Do you have any practices that you find particularly helpful in maintaining a sober lifestyle? Is there anything that you practice on a daily basis? Or I know you might not have the desire to drink or to use drugs or anything, but just for our listeners, is there anything that you do that you practice?
Of course, as I said, I had this thing with eating. So I know if I eat chocolate, it really, I can't sleep. It doesn't make me feel well. If I eat food from people who don't make the food with love, I'm really heavy in my body and I want to get rid of it. So I had to figure out the energies. I had to get a fine tuning. How does it make me feel if I drink this, if I do this? I can always tell, ground yourself, Clean yourself. I do smudging. Take a salt bath. Like you need to cleanse your aura because you need to feel good. I'm a water person. I go to the ocean. I go to in nature. I go for walks. It makes me feel good. It makes me feel clean. So, do you know some people when they always want to clean themselves? It's something also energetically and something, the energy by what they're surrounded with. I have a routine every morning, evening. I cleanse myself energetically. I look at my food. What do I eat? I look at the people I spend time with. I have to be honest with myself. And there are certain exercises from kinesiology, how you can ground yourself. Breathing, but when I say breathing, not breath work, where you hyperventilate and have a near-death experience, because that's, again, creating more trauma. You don't want to create trauma. You want to heal trauma. And most important is, if you can, do look into your childhood wounds, look into the trauma, ancestral lineage, or whatsoever, because that can be a part. Like, people do family constellation. I don't suggest it for starseeds because most of the times you will heal the people around you. That is one more thing. And because you're healing unconsciously people around you, you need a substance to keep you grounded. So the trick is, if you want to be free from substances, you need to find a tool to ground yourself. And that is, for me, it's swimming or doing sport. For someone else, it can be singing or dancing or playing an instrument or cooking or playing a game. There's so many ways. You just have to figure it out. Like what makes you happy from inside. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's been incredible speaking with you, Agatha, and I know we could talk for hours on different topics and go into all of this. If any of our listeners resonate with you or they want to work with you or helping people find out who they are, how can they do that?
You can find me under Agathe Fohler or Arena International. You can find me all over the internet or YouTube, Arena International. I have a starseed community, the Arcturians. Yeah, just put my name or go to my website, arenafohler.com or arenastarseed.com. Yeah, I love to help.
We'll put the link in there for you. And thank you so much for being on, and we'll chat again soon.
Thank you so much for having me here. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us on Sober Stage with your host, Jaclyn McBride. Stay strong, stay inspired. For more, visit SoberStagePodcast.com. Until next time, who's ready to step up on the stage?